We actually, if we move forward a position or a ranking, we do not have Derrick Rose. We have the Dejounte Murray. And the reason why I say that is we actually had a three-way tie for this next spot. We actually had a three-way tie between Murray, Bledsoe, and Rose. And the way our tiebreaker went down, this actually put Dejounte Murray at 24th spot. And before I start talking about Dejounte Murray, I have really great things to say about Dejounte Murray. I want to know why you had him at, when you look down your list, you had him 37th. That's what I want to know. He still cracked the top 24 or top 25 because clearly I have a very high mind of him. I'm very high on him. But why is he your 37th best point guard?
Yeah, I mean, I would.
37th.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to look at the list, see who specifically is ahead of him in my list, but ultimately it is just a super deep position, and it comes down to the fact that even though he's a decent point guard, I think he's pretty topped out in terms of his point production, the things he's going to do. I don't think there's going to be much more room for improvement, and because of that, I mean, everyone else ahead of him, they are more productive on in the regard, at least offensively. Defensively, he is a good player as well. But when a guy is one of the worst field goal players in the when a guy does have the fewest points per game of any point guard with 25 minutes per game, clearly he is struggling to score at the NBA level.
He played 25 minutes.
Yeah, but
he doesn't need to score. He's not in a position to score. He
that's
doesn't need to score.
okay, but technically no point guard does, and all of them do. The guys again who are ahead of him,
So,
even saying a guy like
from what I've seen is that you rank offensive production on a way higher tier than defensive production. There's no reason why Dejounte Murray should be anywhere close to 10 spots under Kobe White. You had him about 15 spots under Kobe White.
that's definitely
incredible. Incredible.
That's definitely completely unfair to say based on the fact that Derek White made my list based on the fact that he is one of the best defensive players in the league already and a better defensive player than
not that. Then not no.
He was in the exact same position.
No. Dejounte Murray is a better player than White. Dejounte Murray is a better defensive player.
He's definitely not. I mean, if you look at it, in terms of shooting guards last year, Derek White was third in terms of defensive production behind only Danny Green and Drew Holiday. He's already up there with the top guys. Dejounte Murray isn't. He's good at
Dejounte Murray.
He's not a bad defensive player, but to say that someone doesn't value defense because of one guy they feel like isn't a better point guard than guys like Lonzo Ball, who are also very good on the defensive end, is definitely not fair to say. But you had the same opinion of a guy like Derek White, where you said, oh, it's because his offense isn't good, where he's great on the defensive end too. Like, you can't sit there and say that. That's just completely.
No, I see a big breakout year for Dejounte Murray. I see him in their top 15, to be honest. I see him blowing past a lot of these people, and he's a kind of guy who hasn't scored because he doesn't need to score. But they're going to get rid of DeMar DeRozan this year, probably Aldridge. One of those two players can open up a lot of minutes for him. To me, he's a great player. I think that he is going to be really up there in this league. I see him in it's hard to say what kind of mold he's in, but like I say, I have nothing but good things to say about him. And I guess we have very various opinions on this, and I'm very happy he made our list.
Hey, I mean, he also made the list based on the fact that I was going to be a tiebreaker and said based on the improvements he made, he definitely deserves to make it. Like, he did have a big improvement from year over to year, but do I think based on the other guys who are on the list that he's better than a lot of the guys who missed it as well? No, I definitely don't. And I don't think he's going to have a better year. Dejounte Murray, I think he's a guy who's going to take 6-7 years to fully hit his kind of full potential, versus other guys are completely ready right now.
I don't see that. I see him next year making a big jump.
Hey, I mean, it's definitely possible. I just don't think that he's going to be there. I also think that if the Spurs are looking to make trades, I think they're much more willing to trade Dejounte Murray than they are Derek White as well. Derek White can play both shooting guard and point guard. Dejounte Murray is strictly a point guard. So, I mean, I think he's much more expendable. And I think that also speaks to the fact that he's not maybe as valuable as you're kind of giving him out to be. I mean, in terms of guys who finished ahead of him, like on my list. It's personal
Rough.
preference, but I mean Dennis Schroeder obviously finishes ahead of him. Alfred Payton is already, I would say they're very similar players, but Alfred Payton is a much better passer already than Dejounte Murray. Everything else other than that Murray had a better year this year in terms of shooting, but he has his first 2 years were basically the same as Dejounte Murray. Patrick Beverley I had over him. Monte Morris I think is the best backup part guard in the league. Reggie Jackson didn't
Backup.
Reggie Jackson, yeah,
Oh, Reggie Jackson's not even playing next year.
yeah, but Reggie Jackson was a guy who had 17 per game, and he has been a starting point guard, and he has been a pretty good starting point
Yeah,
guard for
but
a number of
he's not even
years.
gonna get minutes next year.
We don't
Heck,
know that. He's still got minutes. We just
he's third on the depth chart.
we don't know what they're gonna
Pat Beverly's away on a whole other level, unless there's an injury happening.
Hey, that's it. But that's just it. Those are a couple of
Injury.
guys that I just had ahead of them, and I feel like those. It's not a huge deal to feel like those guys are better than them, honestly. Because if you look at the production, it was very similar last year, and we don't know what they're going to do. They're all very good players in their own right. I'm not saying Dejounte Murray is a bad player. I just don't think he's better than any of those guys, and I don't think this year will be different.
I think that he's gonna have a big breakout year this year. I think there's a reason why someone like Sports Illustrated had him in their top 80. I think they had him. I'd have to check where they had him, but there's a good reasoning for that. I think he deserves to be even higher than where he's at right now. But like I say, I'm just happy for him to make the list, and I love that we're recording this because I want to come back at the end of the year and be like, Dejounte Murray, okay. So, but either way, moving on from Dejounte Murray, we have here at number 23.